What up, everybody? Welcome to the IAG Thursday thing, this thing that we do every Thursday, even when I miss it because we're at the track losing our damn minds. Uh, normally, I would be joined by my partner in crime, Warranty, but he's bad with time zones. And we even kicked this one an hour, and I think he was thinking 5 Central, and that ain't gonna work for most people. So we may not see Warranty, but this week we're going to be joined by Graham because Graham was actually at the track with us anyway. So honestly, it's probably going to work out really well. Graham, what's up, buddy?
It's doing the thing.
Doing the thing. You had a pretty good weekend too. We'll get into it, but you had a pretty
It was.
damn good weekend, bud.
I have no complaints, man. I drove home happy.
You should. I mean, you really should. So, producer Jordan is still laid up in his bed. He's got a back injury, and everybody think about producer Jordan. Okay, guy works really hard. He does an insane amount of stuff for us behind the scenes, and he's in a rough spot right now. So we're all thinking about producer Jordan. Love you, buddy. Get well soon, and hopefully we see you out the track. He ended up missing Mid Ohio due to it, which sucks because that's like his closest event. He lives in Mid Ohio, or lives in the middle of Ohio, so it that just sucks. I feel so bad for him. Hopefully he can get that sorted out and it doesn't take anything too god awful serious. And then Randy, who was also at the track with us most of the time this past weekend, was also there. And then I hung out at Randy's house on the way home, but Randy makes our thumbnails, and it's always good to have Randy around. Thanks, and Randy, we appreciate you. So Mid Ohio honestly never fails to deliver something. Okay.
Yeah. Even if it's rain, thunderstorms, lightning,
something
track
is getting
records.
delivered by Mid Ohio. Okay. And it's almost never not drama. There is something going on at Mid Ohio. So I just so everybody's aware, I have absolutely zero intention of getting involved with any other Gridlife behind the scenes drama. That's not what this podcast is about. If you want to listen to a podcast about that, do yourself a favor. Wander over to the Heat Exchanger podcast and take a listen on there, because that's not here. One thing I do want to say before we kick off and go too deep into this week we were supposed to have Brian Iwire on, but the IAG 4th of July sale kicked off. Everything went kind of nuts, and honestly I had no time to prep, and it didn't work for him. It didn't work for us. So we decided to kick it a week. But what I can tell you is, one, Brian from iWire is really badass. And two, some products that are coming from him are going to be sick. So I highly recommend next week, if for you Subaru heads, old and new, building big crazy stuff, or maybe trying to swap an old Forester or whatever, like there's going to be so much cool crap we're going to talk about next week. I am very excited to have Brian on. So yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Make sure you tune in for that one. Next week's going to be really sick. But back to Mid Ohio. So, a miracle happened, Graham. Like a Christmas miracle happened.
Yeah.
Dylan beat us both to the track.
That was unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And then he got there and there was so much drama just trying to pull down to our parking spot.
Yep.
But he beat us. It happened. Dylan got there, and the car was in great shape. And I mean, he got there. That was wild. A lot of help came from somebody who was in the chat too.
He got there before the racing started too.
I know, it was incredible.
Like the night before, it's amazing.
It wasn't even that. It was the day before, like
midday.
Like he beat you and I to the track.
I know.
It was incredible.
We didn't know what to do with ourselves.
I don't even know. I don't ever get to. I'm usually, I'm a perpetually late human being. It is just, it always ends up just crazy shit gets in Dylan's way. But one of the big helps was in the chat. We call him Forklift. Forklift from IAG. Forklift, who actually deserves to get a fancy IAG employee role thing. So now he's red. Forklift redid the entire trailer. The trailer is organized and labeled and everything makes sense. And
Wow.
he's been helping us a ton behind the scenes. Forklift is sick. Doing a lot of lifting, not at the track. It's been super helpful. So Forklift is killer, and we love him to pieces. And I can't wait till we get him back out at the track because he's great. But yeah, he beat us there. It man, getting to our spot sucked, but I can tell you what, Mid Ohio having a garage, I can't thank you enough for renting that garage.
I should probably charge you for the half of it that you owe me too.
You probably should. Okay, it was worth every penny.
I'll send you a bill. The garage is the play there for
It
sure.
by far the play. If you are ever doing Mid Ohio and you have the ability to rent the garage, just rent a damn garage.
Tell everybody that, or we won't be able to get one.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could just pull a Luke McGrew and order literally a whole building's worth of garages and then rent them to your homies.
There you go.
That was sick. That, that's a Luke McGrew play. But
Yeah.
so yep, we got there with a good running car. You got there with a good running car. You came out of Midwest Fest. Your car was running great. Did you make any changes between Midwest Fest and Mid Ohio?
We did, yeah. Let's see, we put a whole different dry sump tank on it because we learned that venting both the dry sump tank and the crankcase into the one breather can was too much for it. It overloads it. So it would, we theorized it'd be better to actually get the oil tank that has two inputs on it and actually breathe the crankcase into the oil tank like you normally do on dry sump systems. So we made that change and that worked significantly better. Now the only thing coming into the catch can is mostly just vapor, like some fuel vapor, some moisture. It carries a little bit of oil vapor with it. We need to upsize the line a little bit. I think the air velocity is just a little bit high, but that worked much better. And then went in and added some brake ducts.
Yep.
And other than that, it was just fluids change. There was nothing else the car needed.
Nice. I think all
Yeah.
we did is we picked up a new set of RE71 RSs.
Yep.
So we had those ready to go. And just the basics, alignment and stuff like that. Like the car was still in really good shape after Midwest Fest, which is awesome.
Oh yeah. Yeah, ours was too. Just nut and bolt check, stuff like that. Just had to, tighten up some splitter bolts, things like that.
Yeah, the usual nut and bolt, the whole thing. We didn't
Yep.
do a ton though. It was pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Small stuff, nothing crazy. So we both showed up with almost the same cars. You had a little bit of venting issue, which I think we'll get into that a little bit. But this is really sick because both you and I have very similar cars. If you guys want to hear more about how that development happened, listen to last week's podcast, which was awesome. So we session one goes out and we ran the tires we ran last time, the used ones. I don't want to get into drama with that, but we went and ran those, and I gotta be real, they did not get any better. It wasn't great. Okay. We went out there and I don't feel that we ran a representative time of what we were trying to do. It was like a 30 point something, which, some people, there was a time in street mod where people would be losing their minds about that. But our current record as it sat there was a 27, no, it was a 28.2 was our current all-wheel drive record, and the overall record was a 27.8. And that was set by Alan Patton in a Supra. Okay, so
Last year, right?
last
That
year.
was his.
Yep.
And then your record was from 2 years ago,
Was
right?
from 2
23.
years ago, because last year we went there, we blew up a trans,
Yeah.
and had to put that '06 STI 6-speed in there that had that huge gap between fourth and fifth, and the gearing
Yep.
was just awful. Like honestly, that setup just did not work there at all. It was really bad. We were a huge a mile an hour down on the straight, and that wasn't for us not trying to feed it boost and flat foot and do whatever the hell we could to try to get it to boil on fifth, but it just wouldn't do it. So, yeah, that was also like the first time we had that car running correctly on the M-Tron and everything else at the track. So like it really, it was that honestly was a test event, and the fact that we even got as close as we did was wild. We were also dealing
Yeah,
with a
last
really
year
bad
had some
hopping
setbacks and some
issue.
growing pains and some
Oh yeah,
development
I mean it
efforts.
happens. Um,
Yep.
so either way, yeah, that was a rough weekend last year. This year was a little better. Car was a little more sorted. Had her figured out. Sequential was working good. You've got tuning on that sorted out. It was she was a good unit. So I went out for the first session and the car kind of terminally understeered. It really didn't feel great. Okay. Wasn't awesome, not confidence inspiring. Somehow was in first, but the car just did not feel good. How'd you end up doing on your first session?
Um, well, they stuck me in group C because they went off of the previous
Oh, I
year's
forgot.
times, and since I had the GR Corolla last year, I was in group C with the Club TR guys.
Yeah.
So, I was kind of in a weird spot. Now, I was towards the top of C, and it ended up working in my favor. That morning session, I got lucky. I got to go out, and as I was finishing, trying to pick up some time, I did get some rain coming in. But then, yeah, groups B and A got rained on. But I had a decent time. I think it was like a 33 or something. You know, feeling the car out,
Yeah.
braking really early. Just taking her easy.
You were
But
also
yeah,
your brake did we not decide that maybe your brake ducting might have been too much for your brakes too?
well, not in that session. That was later. Later,
Okay.
I think I went out and started getting some more breaks, and I thought it felt like it was like the brakes just weren't biting, didn't feel like they were staying hot, and
Yeah.
so the initial theory was I was overcooling them, but then I kind of figured out that it was 2 things, I think. One, I bled the front brakes like you suggested, and the fluid was a little bit gross.
Yep.
Probably got a little bit cooked at Midwest, so
Gingerman's hard on
I
brakes.
bled them. And that helped. The other thing is I finally realized in the culmination of going off track in the last session of the weekend was that I was fighting ABS a lot more than I thought.
Yep.
Anywhere on there's a lot of spots on Mid-Ohio where the cars get light in a braking zone, and that basically triggers ice mode. The ABS thinks it's on ice, and it backs off the pressure. It literally your foot pressure feels phenomenal, and you're like pushing that thing through the damn floor, but like the car's not braking until it settles out and says, "Okay, I don't think we're on ice anymore." So I was having essentially ice mode issues going into towards the keyhole because there's like a weird transition in that area,
Yeah, like
especially
drop.
if
Yep.
you turn in early, which I was kind of doing. I wasn't really taking a good line in there anyway. So once I did more of my braking in a straight line there and, kind of dealt with that, I realized it really wasn't, I don't think it was overcooling the brakes. I think it was a combination of needing to bleed them and just ABS really giving me a hard time on that track.
So I actually forgot I never even went out for that first session because it poured on us. So we went out and the
Yep.
second session and it was sweltering, stupid, dumb hot.
Then it
Eh,
got exactly after the rain, it got stupid hot the rest of the day
Yep.
on Friday.
Yep. It was hotter than balls. And we
90,
went out there and ran
93
like
and
a
humid.
30 something and it wasn't great. So I want to try to get this chain of events and how that happened. Long story short, we went out, ran that. It wasn't great. Um, and then we came in and I think we were going to go out for that next session. Trying to remember when we had the issue. Oh, did I throw the belt then? I threw the belt the
You
next
threw the
session.
belt. Yeah, you threw the
Day
belt
one.
in your first session out,
Yeah.
that middle session of the day, Friday,
Yes. Yep, I managed to
and then
coast in though. Okay, so I ended up having I don't know why this track is just evil to alternator belts, but it really is. And we're sailing down the straightaway, top of fifth gear, everything we can give it, and I think we may have over tightened the belt a little bit. It's kind of easy to do with our our alternator relocation kit for rotated manifolds. And I think we might tighten the belt a little bit too much, and the belt said no, and we ended up chucking the belt. So thankfully the car turned off because I've got this. crazy power steering pump and a lot of stuff running through this battery at that point. But I managed to coast in, so we didn't cause any issues. So what we ended up finding out after we put the belt back on is I was leaking water too. And this was an odd one. We had a bolt that we don't know what exactly happened, but it basically pulled the threads from a bolt in our thermostat housing. So we were leaking water out of our thermostat housing. So the belt going and the car turning off may have saved our engine. Like it was kind of like karma said, we're gonna throw you one here. So
Yeah. Now the coolant temp safety would have shut you down. You were
sure.
approaching it, but you weren't quite to it yet. So
It's good to know. It was weird how that all kind of happened. I'm not gonna
it
lie.
was quite a
Like it
coincidence.
wasn't
Yeah.
like we were gonna go any further. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Um, so it like pulled threads out of it. We ended up having to helicoil it. That was fun. But we managed to get it helicoiled and it all went back together and sealed up great. Whatever. Redid the belt and we were ready for day two. Um, Day two, did it rain first session again? I think it did. Yes.
It did. Yes, it was a rainy first session for everybody.
Yep. It poured first session. So like nobody went out. I think I attempted to go out and I chucked another belt. Um,
Yeah,
at,
I think it was drying out. No, no, I remember that. Okay, yes, it was drying out by the time they got towards the top of grid.
yes.
So I went out there and had found a bunch of time,
Yep.
I think, in that session and came in and I was like, the track's in pretty good shape.
So
And
I went out there
you
and
went
then
out
we threw
there,
the belt.
lost it,
We
lost the belt again, I
yeah, we
think,
lost
right
our
away.
brand new belt and it trashed. So we're like, shit. Thankfully I had another belt coming in because I was like, we need to have a backup because we just put our backup on the car. I had another belt coming in. Um, at the same time, we wanted to make sure maybe something was bent, whatever. So we went and picked up one of those. It's basically a laser piece that allows you to see if your pulleys are like level and lined up. We put it all. We went and got the belt I ordered yesterday finally came in. So we weren't expecting to run the afternoon session at all. Because we didn't think we thought we were gonna be, shimming an alternator or whatever, trying to get things to line up. And we put the laser thing on and it's dead nuts. So we're like, well, how about we just put the belt on, but we'll put it on really loose, comparatively to what we did before. So we put it on real loose and it was fine. Um, I wasn't even expecting to go out. This seemed like a free session. Okay. And really, what I wanted to do is go out and get get my frickin' lap timer working again, and work on some small stuff. So we go out and we end up with a caution. I think Alan Patton and that crazy vet ended up in the kitty litter.
That's right.
Coming out of Thunder Valley at that point. I think you were in Group A at this point.
Oh,
Um,
that was so this was actually the B session where I did my naughty
mm,
passing on the outlap.
Oh, okay.
And
There've been a
I
lot of outlap issues, and
That's
Graham was
how
being
so
naughty.
that's how I got my time knocked way down was I had some nice clean track
Yeah.
at the front of B, and I came in and I was like, "Dude, the track is good."
Yep.
And then
I
yeah,
remember
that was
that.
like the midday, it got a little cloudy, it kinda cooled
Yep.
off, and you had just fixed yours and you went out.
I went out and that was dude, you were so naughty. Okay, there's of the 10 commandments of time attack I'm trying to put together right now. Thou shall not pass on the outlap is a big one. And
Yes.
Graham was naughty. He passed like 3 people on the outlap. Now to Graham's defense.
Now,
Okay.
yeah, one of the other commandments on there is thou shall not hold people up on the outlap
Yeah,
either.
thou shall not like shall run like 7/10 outlap, and this
Thou
guy was
shalt
doing like
set
a
a good
2.
outlap pace as a
Yes,
leader, right?
yes, and this guy was crawling.
Yeah,
Um,
I see what I needed to do. I had to violate one of the commandments to become the new leader and fix the other violated commandment.
And a bunch of people went with you after you did it.
They
So
did. It's just like, it's like someone, hearing from above, and then people follow them, because it sounds like the good word.
you were so naughty. Either
I know.
way, you're such a dick. I called you a dick so many times. But either way,
It's
we
fair.
went out there
It
on a
was it
session that we didn't
was
think
bad.
we were going to get. Okay, we absolutely didn't think we were going to get this, and our car went off when we had kind of a lap put together. We were feeling okay about it. A car went off, and we got to drive around a bunch, get the tires cool. I could mentally get in a good spot, and ended up in a spot to where I could put a lap together. And we ended up running it was the record. I think it was the all-wheel drive record. I think we ran a 27.8 is what we ran. It was really 27.8 or a 27.9. I don't think we had the overall record. I just think we got the all-wheel drive record. I had no idea because, again, my lap timer was not working until the end of it. So when I come in, everybody's like, holy shit, like, you went really fast. And then they're like, hey, you're going to impound. And I should have taken one more cooldown lap, and I didn't. So this car was hot. Okay. We basically took straight from the track, blazing hot car in the middle of the blazing hot day up to impound. So Randy literally is running with the fan to get up there. The oil was getting smoking ass hot. I think we saw almost 260 just sitting there. Thankfully, that radiator that we got in there kicks ass. But oil was getting cooking. We got some air through it. Past impound. One of the new things they're doing, and I think is really cool, is they're impounding every time you set a record to make sure you didn't do anything naughty. Okay. I think it's a great idea. Look at the fast cars. It's a good idea. So,
Yep.
we ended up, we set that record. We were pretty stoked about it. Put us into first place. Not too far behind us. We're talking like 2/10 was, Kyle McHugh and his Supra. And, he was just starting to mess around with a different set of tires off also. He was on the same tires I was on at Midwest Fest. He was messing around on those and then decided to go over to a set of Bridgestone RE71 RSs, which is what him and I both went to. Both of us had brand new RE71 RSs on at this point. The car felt great. Most of the understeer was gone. It wasn't perfect, but it was gone. Car was doing its job. We set the record. We were really stoked. Next morning, we ended up bringing the car in the garage. We were gonna nut and bolt check it, and I kept saying, I'm like, man, this car feels funky in the rear, and I just can't figure it out. And Dylan's like kind of goofing around with stuff, and realizes one of the strut bolts came loose, and like we had dynamic camber in the rear. It was basically the driver's side rear, so the outside rear. We would lose a huge amount of camber in almost every corner. It would go from like 3.5 to like 1.5. It was this huge swing. So that was most of our handling issues. So we ran the all-wheel drive record at least on that. So we knew we had some quote unquote sand in our pocket. We still had a lot on the table. Not only that, I really threw away that lap coming out of Thunder Valley.
Yeah,
So
it wasn't a pretty lap.
it wasn't
was
a great
fast.
lap.
Yeah.
Some of the lap was good, but man, I chucked it out of Thunder Valley. It was bad. I had to basically slam on the brakes so I didn't go off.
Yeah.
So we definitely had some in our pocket. So it was, I got to be real. I felt pretty good going into the next morning. I'm like, I can put something together, but I was worried because, Kyle McHugh can wheel. All right. That Supra's no joke. And we've got another Supra that's really well put together, that is starting to get their stuff really figure it out. That's Luca. There were some guys who really could put some time down. And hell, you even got Graham, who is now starting to figure out how to drive his damn car and finding time by hunks and chunks as fast as he can. And so I'm shitting my pants.
At one point, I was ahead of you.
Yes, that happened.
Right. Yep.
So, yeah, I was worried there for a bit, but the next morning, the conditions were about perfect. Okay. We were what, low 70s,
Oh man,
overcast
that was the session. That was the session of the weekend by a long shot.
by a long shot. It was, like I said, low 70s, overcast. It rained a little the night before, so it cleaned the track off. Like, it was about as perfect as it was gonna get. And
Yep.
yeah, outlap. We managed to run a 26-7, which still just astounds me. Um,
Yep.
the car, I still messed up coming out of Thunder Valley a little bit, but everything else was pretty clean. Um,
Yeah.
Dude, it was a bullet. I gotta be real. Like, I ran a time. I set the overall record and won the damn thing. Was really stoked, and I didn't run the rest of the event because it was over. Because Kyle and his Supra, trying to chase us, blew that shit up. So, that was the end of that. Our main competition, and anybody who was in like 2.5 seconds of us, just nated the thing. So we really, like, it didn't make sense for us to go back out. But you, on the other hand, you were still in the hunt for third, and
Yep.
you were putting together a banger lap. I think you would have been in the 28s. I really do. I don't know if you would have got on podium, but you would have been damn close.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. Jamie ended up with that 28.5, so it's hard
Yep.
to say whether I could have gotten under that or would have been a little above that. But either way, it would have got me around like 3 or 4 other cars because that's how tight the back of SM was. Like,
Yep.
there was a point in the session where there was a point 0.4 second spread amongst 4 or 5 of us. Like, I was sitting with a 30.4, there was a 30.5, there's a 30.6, like, we were all right there.
Yeah. No, it was
It was
unreal. You guys were all literally just like at like that second stretch from 30 to 31. Like, you guys were all in this area. Street mod is
Yeah,
crazy because these cars are all drastically different too. We got a
yep,
BMW 1 Series with a big turbo. We had a Supra with a bunch of crazy aero and a big turbo. We got a Subaru in there with a sequential and a big turbo. We've got Ryan Matthews and a Corvette with a big engine and no turbo.
there's the LS Miata, John, he was fast.
Yeah, the LS Miata, and then you have I'm gonna butcher his name, but not far off of you guys was that Delahousie guy with the ND Miata, the newer one with
Yep,
a turbocharger and no aero whatsoever. He is an absolute wheelman. And the second
yeah,
that guy gets aero, I am scared shitless for all of us.
and you
Um,
didn't mention Luca in the mix too.
Oh, that was the Super with the big turbo.
Yeah,
I'm
just yeah,
talking in that
yeah,
mix,
so,
yeah.
like,
Luca's,
that's
yeah.
there's basically you and Kyle going at it, and then all the rest of us you just listed were
Yes.
contenders for 3rd place throughout the weekend.
Yep. You guys were all just eating each other.
Yeah.
Eating each
But,
other.
yeah, I think that lap, I mean, certainly if I wouldn't have made any mistakes, um, it could have been a 28. It was very, very fast. Unfortunately, catching that cup car in
I think it
Thunder
got in your head a little
at
bit.
Madness,
So,
yeah, that threw me off. Then I came around again, and unfortunately, at that point, Puglisi had gone off,
yep.
and so then we were under caution, and then we kinda got all screwed up from there, and I had another decent lap going, but I caught a whole bunch of backpack guys, at a bad spot. It was just like, well, at that point, we're done with that
Yeah.
session. So, yeah,
That
and then
was
I tried a full send for the midday or the afternoon session. That
I
by
was
that
about to
point, it was
talk
up.
about that. So the afternoon session, so
Oh my
during
god.
the prime session, you had a banger going, a Porsche Cup car that takes a really long time to get his tires heated up and probably shouldn't have been in the position he was in for that outlap for the rest of the time attack cars. You ended up
Yep,
catching him in an unfortunate spot. It puts you in kind of a goofy position for one of the corners, and it the problem when you come out of Madness in that section of Mid Ohio is it kind of got a rhythm to it. And if the
yep,
first corner isn't hit correctly, none of the rest are gonna feel right. And it kind of kicked your rhythm off funny. And you ended up you ended up throwing basically all the time away there trying to like gain your rhythm back. You could
Yep.
see it in the data; it sucked. So that was your shot there. So you went out for the last session. Okay. Then dude,
Yeah.
we knew we weren't going out, so I'm trying to hype Graham up. we were
It worked.
we were trying. I was telling him just send the safety car after him and all sorts of shit because he's going for everything he's got. And
Yep.
you must have taken that to heart.
Oh, dude. It was like everything I could do without going off the track. And it was hot and greasy. Dude, that thing was so sideways,
Yeah,
but I was just
wheeling
channeling
it,
my inner Roger Clark and just sending it, you know.
wheeling it.
Dude, I stayed in the throttle. I stayed, you know, even like coming into turn one, you guys all thought I was gonna lose it there because I stayed in it. Like I noticed like,
Oh yeah,
even on your record lap video, you had to lift there as you hit that little depression.
yes,
I stayed in it. I hit the 2-3 shift and stayed in it, and it kicked sideways, and I had to counter steer,
dude. It
lift a
was
little bit, and then get back into
when you
it.
were coming out of the last corner and to start finish to start your hot lap. I'm like, well, there went his time because you were all sorts of crooked coming. That you were in this shit. It was it was so good.
Yeah.
Um,
I lost about 0.15, I think.
okay,
And
so it wasn't much.
I had a decent run into turn one, and then everything else was actually coming together pretty good, except, you know, I actually got a really good line through the S's,
Yeah,
and I came over the top and right as I normally would, lifted, hit the brakes, and it was just nothing. It was ice mode. So
yeah,
I was like, "Oh, well, here we go." So I just stayed on the brake, and as I kind of settled down towards the bottom, right where the rumble, you know, where the yellow rumble strip starts, then it finally kicked the brakes in, and it slowed me down a little bit, but there was no turning in. I just had to drive it straight off, and I was able to keep it on the grass patch. There's basically like a one car width between the track
yep.
and the kitty litter, and so I just rode that around, and that was it. Mowed a whole bunch of grass, came in, got it blown off,
Dude,
and went back
we
out.
got a
And
pretty good picture of the amount of grass that was on the
oh
front of the
yeah,
car. It was a lot. There was a lot of grass.
yeah, it was a lot.
It was a lot of
So
grass.
yeah, had to throw that one away, went back out, circled around again, and I tried again, but I forget. I don't know if I ran into oh, yeah, I had a pretty good one going again. It wasn't gonna be anything super special, but, I was coming back onto the front straight, and it just shut me down. I had to literally I rolled past the start finish at 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, we could hear it. It got
Yeah,
mad about something.
yeah, so it turns out I think I drained the surge tank, essentially.
Hmm.
You know, at the time, you know, we're both running those fuel labs. When I ordered mine, they did not have the large tall one, the 2.7 liter.
Yeah,
And so I was like, well, I need to get this. And I figured, you know, I guess I'll take one for the team here and I'll determine if the 2.1 is sufficient for what we're doing. And well, guess what? It's not.
it's not. You need the fat
So at
one.
least what we can do, you're gonna hit them up, I think,
Yeah,
and try
we're
to
gonna
get me
get
that.
fuel lab. I'm sure fuel lab.
All I need
Yeah.
is the tall tank and like the longer straw, and I can swap my top and my pump.
Yep. I don't think it'll be too much of an issue at all. I think they're gonna be down to party. But
Yep. So
we'll
so that was the thing there. But you know, just that's a good example of a engine safety kicking in and saving me from problems. You know.
yeah. So let's say you didn't have that safety there. Okay. Let's say you were running on some sort of closer to stock engine management that didn't have a safety like that, and you were to try to finish that lap there. It probably would have tried to run, but it would have ran lean as shit. There's a very good chance you could have ate an engine right there.
It's entirely possible. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does have differential fuel pressure, meaning it will increase the injector duty. And since I've got 2,600 cc worth of injectors amongst the two sets of injectors, it was already doing that, and it was never. It was I was down 30-35 psi of fuel pressure, but my fueling was perfect. My injector duty was up to like 85%
Yeah.
because it was compensating, but it's still, you know, you still want to shut down after a period of time at that point anyway, in case it goes all the way to zero.
Yeah.
At some point, the injectors are just going to max out.
Yep.
Then it'll go lean.
Which could have been bad. So,
But yeah, to answer Seraph and Wolf's question, still on factory ABS, which is why we're dealing with
yep.
these issues with the ice mode.
So I'm on an MK60. So Boogie is on an MK60. Graham, we, I the '08 and newer STIs, okay, have a better ABS system than the '07 and older STIs, and I don't think we ever thought we'd run into too many issues with the newer ones. And I think we found out that that assumption was wrong at the level that we're trying to run these at.
Yep. If you're braking in a straight line and you're braking in a zone that doesn't upset the car, it's totally fine. You know, like the big brake zone, like I carried 160 miles an hour past the 4.5, even 4 marker at Mid Ohio, and
Sure.
I could get the car slowed down before I turned in. I probably could have braked at the 3, like with a perfect braking. So the ABS works totally fine in a good straight line without anything upsetting the car, but if there's things like going over, going through the S's and coming over that last crest,
Where the car
that
gets
totally
light,
freaks the
you're
car
hitting
out.
track curbing, all sorts of shit.
Yeah, I looked at my wheel speeds in Mtron, and like one of the wheel speeds, right as I was trying to get on the brakes, had dropped 15 or 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, so it
And
doesn't know what the hell is going on.
exactly. So basically one of the back wheels had sped up. If you listen in that video, you can hear that as I come over the crest, I actually break traction. One of my back wheels spun, and and I was starting to get on the brakes, and one of my front wheels locked up because it was super light, and it made this huge differential between two of the wheels, a front and a rear. And I'm sure that's exactly when it was like, oh, we're on ice.
Yep. So
And
what were
and,
you
and it
hitting
gave
at
me
the
enough.
end of the straight?
What's that?
What were you hitting mile per hour at the end of the straight going into China Beach? What was your max?
About my max, I think, was like it was like a 158 or 159.
Okay, so I was getting you pretty good there. I had 10 mile an hour on you.
You got to 170?
I got 168.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
167, 168, I think is what it flashes on the screen for a second if you watch
Yeah,
the
no, that
lap.
makes sense with we talked about this earlier today, the
Yep.
power to weight difference, and I'd say honestly you're probably about 40. I'd say you're running 40 more horsepower, maybe 50 over the weekend,
Yeah.
and 350 less pounds.
We're the so we're aware, like you and I had different goals going in there too. My goal is to go there and win that. Your goal is to go there and develop that car.
Honestly, I didn't even think I'd have a shot at the podium,
Yeah.
both in terms of the car's ability and my own ability. I surprised myself. I
I'm
was
I'm
surprised
so
to
impressed.
to almost get a goddamn 29 actually on the board,
And
and
like
maybe even a
legitimately,
28.
Graham, I have given you shit over the years, okay? Um I believe there was a lot left on the table from a driving standpoint in your 2017 campaign. Okay.
Oh, dude, it's embarrassing and hysterical to watch those 17 videos.
But I'm telling you, man, you have came a long way. I think the sim has helped a ton. I think just you getting more track time since then to now has helped a bunch. Um,
Yeah,
I think the sequential has worked really well for both of us. Not it opens up bandwidth to think about other things. You know
it
what I mean?
does. It really does, right?
Yep. And I that's one of the things I think that um even like the Supras or like Super K with the DCT or things like that, I don't think it is taken into account. They don't even have to take their hand off the wheel. How much bandwidth it just opens up to just drive the lap, you
Oh
know?
yeah, I mean, and Mid Ohio was at Midwest or at Midwest at Gingerman. There weren't very many places where we had to pull off shifts at weird points, but
No,
Mid Ohio had a bunch of
everywhere.
them.
Oh my
Like,
god, dude,
I
we were
mean,
in
dude,
between gears. I got to be real. Our gearing is not optimal for Mid Ohio. It's not.
yeah. So I'll walk you through all the places that I was having to do shifts. Okay,
Yep.
so coming out of the keyhole, 2-3 shift
Yep. Same thing.
as you're trying to counter steer because we got these cars rotating now. So
Yep.
I'm pulling a 2-3 shift out of the keyhole.
While spinning.
I'm pulling a 2-3 shift right before you set up and head up into uh over the S's crest where I went off.
Yes. Yep.
I'm also pulling I think I was actually gonna in that last lap, since it was the after that last session, I was gonna actually try to set up and stay in third over the last crest into Madness
Yeah.
because I was pretty sure you could do that. I know we talked about like what's faster there, like diving down to the brake zone and then getting a run up over the crest, or kind of getting on the brakes a little earlier there and trying to carry
I mean,
more.
I
And
was given a
I think
second.
that could have left me in third.
Yeah.
But anyway, every other lap I was doing a 2-3 shift over that crest.
Yep.
And then there was the awkward 2-3 shift right before the front straight.
Yes.
So yeah, lots of places where we're doing stupid shifts at
That
Mid Ohio.
if
Taking
we
hands off the wheel when you don't want
you
to.
got to take your yeah, that's just it. You're taking your hands off the wheel to do weird shit. But even then, um I will say that the OEM 6-speed gearing probably matched Mid Ohio a little better than our transmission did. You and I have the exact same gearing,
Yep.
and if you do look at our speed traces pretty close, they are really similar in some spots. And a lot of the technical areas, you know what I mean? Um
Yep. Mid Ohio. Yeah. In the past, Mid Ohio, you could just it was like a 3-4-5 track, mostly three
yep.
four.
Yep. And
But
you would
yeah,
carry most of the back section in third. You know what I mean?
yep,
And
exactly.
you once you were in third, you could just kind of stay in third back there, and it allowed you to get away with some shit, and you could kind of use the torque to get away with stuff, but
Yeah.
that
So
gear just worked really well there. We don't have that. We're like in between it
no.
now.
Alex Butler asked if we could change gearing per track. And yeah, if we were an IMSA team, we'd have different transmissions to swap in for different tracks. But, that would be an enormous undertaking. So we kind of had to pick gearing that we
It would
thought
work
would work
almost everywhere. I
almost
think
everywhere.
I think something we could it would be fun to toy with in the future though would be changing our wheel size, like our tire size.
Well, so here's one thing is, are we on the same? We do have the same size tire now, don't
Yep.
we?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say because you were grabbing that shift for sixth. I never went to sixth at Mid Ohio. I was basically like I
Yeah.
was a couple hundred RPM off my limiter at 160, and so I didn't really need to go for sixth.
I was I was leaving to or yeah, leaving turn to a little more aggressive than you, and I was running some more horsepower, so I was getting on that straight better. I
Yeah.
grabbed sixth. I was bouncing off the top of fifth, and both
Yep.
Dylan and I decided it's not worth it. Like we're gonna grab sixth a little earlier. So I
I
wasn't
know
like
that.
redlining fifth. I was grabbing six a little early. I probably could have done the shift at a different point, but it just I don't know. It felt stupid to shift and then immediately downshift. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think you made the right call. I think
Yeah,
you were doing the right thing
I
there.
I think it
And
made
now that
sense.
like because the way the gearing works, because our gears get shorter as they go up, from 5 to 6 is like you don't really drop anything
No, no, and which is really nice. I'm
because
really excited for Road America with those because I think this is going to work out great.
by excited you mean terrified?
Yeah, no,
Moderately.
like I was there so you got to understand, like the car was a bullet last year there.
I
Okay,
guess that's true, yeah.
it's
You've
just
done it. You've done that at those
yeah,
speeds.
I'm going to dude, it's you better have your shit together. Um we really need to get you on the sim, and we need you to really understand the kink because it is
Oh, yeah.
so different in these cars. It happens so much faster.
Yep.
But
We'll kink it up. We'll get kinky with the
we got to
kink.
get really kinky with the kink. It's gonna be it's gonna be rowdy. That is a big boy track, and we definitely have big boy cars now. Like nobody can
Yep.
deny that.
No, they're fast.
Um, but yeah, again, like the manual there last year, it was still, you're not going to lose a ton of speed that way. It's going to open up some bandwidth, but where I think it's going to help more than anything, like the thing it's really going to help with the change that we made, and I truly believe the bigger change that we made for Mid Ohio wasn't so much the sequential. I think it was our front diffs,
Oh, yeah.
dude.
Absolutely.
So much better.
There's
So
so many
so
spots at
much better.
Mid-Ohio that makes the car wanna push.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it
Off
is
camber stuff,
off.
awkward stuff,
Yup.
throwing weight around.
Madness, it was so much better through the S's. It was better. I kept screwing up coming out of Thunder Valley, but the potential was there. Um, Two, it was better. I could get on the gas way sooner in two.
Yep.
Like there was so one felt honestly almost every corner on the fucking place felt better. Because of the front diff. The front diff was just night and day, so much better. Cannot stress that enough. Differentials wildly overlooked and shouldn't be. So good.
Yep.
So yeah, went and ran a record and did the thing. I think Road America is going to be nuts. Last year I ran a 16. I have a feeling, and I felt like there was time on the table, especially with the way I drastically screwed up coming into the very last corner. So we definitely have some time on the table there, and I have a much better brake kit now too. You have great brakes. You always have had great brakes, other than your ABS issues, but most of the stuff you do here is straight line braking. So I think your car is going to be great. I
Well, I
think,
I'm hoping maybe we can pull off the Delta ABS for it and get that tested.
ooh, that would be sick. I got to be real.
Just
I think we're gonna. I don't want to call this quite yet, but I think we have a very good shot at double podium.
it's possible.
It's
So, I'm gonna
very possible.
try to get that ABS pulled off just so that I have it and feel a bit more confident.
So let's talk about Delta ABS real quick. So this is another aftermarket thing that's going on. I know a buddy of mine, Chris Law, has something to do with it. People look at it and the unit kind of physically looks like an MK60, but it's not. It's a completely bespoke unit, and this is an aftermarket ABS system that basically you can stick in just about anything. How much research have you done on that?
A lot. So I'll kind of give you what I found. So
Yeah,
I've basically been evaluating three things. One of them is the MK60, and I found a gentleman named Douglas who actually runs a E46 M3 with a KV8 ECU and a C127 dash. So same ECU, same dash combo. Actually knows Nick at Mtron really well.
cool.
So I connected with Douglas because his name was thrown around a lot for like a buy an MK60 kit. Because one of the most challenging things with MK60 kits is understanding how to piece it together and get what you need and get the motorsports firmware and flashed and for your chassis. Because an MK60 is just a repurposed OEM, street based
All
unit
it is.
that's
It's
been
what we're running
what,
is an E46 M3 unit, and it hadn't even been
yep.
reflashed or anything. Which that means we probably have performance on the table.
So the motorsports flash helps a lot. Obviously, like in natural form, they're designed for cars. They're going to brake hard. So they do have an ice mode, but it's a lot harder to trigger than on, different units.
Yep.
So it's a good unit, but like getting it wired up, getting plug and play, getting support, getting motorsports flash, all that is difficult to do. Douglas makes a really nice kit, that comes in at a price that's, very fair for what it is.
Hmm.
I don't want to throw out the number. I don't know if it's, if he gave me a special deal, but it's,
Sure.
it's comparable and it's on par with what we're looking at for the Delta ABS.
Yeah.
It's a little bit less. It's less than that. The Delta ABS is 4,200.
Yeah.
And what the Delta ABS is, as you said, was this is a ground up, bespoke, motorsports oriented ABS system.
Yes.
It does not have an ice mode. It does not have any road going modes. It is just set up like a Bosch motorsports ABS, where it is designed just to do, perfect ABS braking on a race car.
So
So
one of the things that's got me excited about it is it's got CAN outputs. So like the ECU,
yep.
you can log. We're going to be able to log cool shit like brake pressure. I'm so excited to see you have this. So yeah.
So it talks and has all the same channels as a Bosch M5 motorsports.
Yep.
It's basically built. It's built to be a more affordable, more approachable, and potentially a bit, easier to use. I don't want to say it's better because I don't know. It's hard to measure
simpler.
better because we don't know.
Simpler is probably the way
the firmware's working, but
yeah,
we do know that like you don't have to buy an extra $1,000 cable to program it. That's pretty cool.
That is cool. $1,000 cables is pretty lame.
For $4,200, you get a complete harness. You got wheel speed sensors. You get everything you need including the ability to go in there and program it for your car.
Yeah.
And so you basically put in your wheel diameters, you put in your weights and everything, and that's basically the equivalent of calling somebody like Douglas and telling him what chassis you have and what your weights are, and getting your MK60 flash to work right for your car.
Yeah.
The cool thing with this is if you make some changes, if you take a bunch of weight out, and or if you change your wheel diameters or something like that, you could reprogram it yourself.
Yep.
So you program it to your car, and then it's got CAN bus to do everything it needs to do. It's got very simple inputs that it needs, and then it's got a 10 position adjustment knob, which is very cool. That's something you don't have with an MK60.
No.
Now,
What does that
how
do?
much do you need that? Most people, I've talked to some people that are a lot smarter than me with a lot more experience, and they've said, generally speaking, a good car, good aero, good tires, good brakes, you're going to touch that in the rain. You're probably not going to touch that too many other times. Maybe if you're racing in really cold track conditions, or
Sure.
maybe my argument would be like Midwest Fest when the track gets greasy from drifty
And it
oil boys.
happens. Yep. It
You
happens.
might play with it, but generally speaking, you're just going to use the minimum amount of, or the maximum amount of slip before ABS as possible.
Yeah.
So you're as close to lockup as it'll allow you. But if that's too much, if you're locking up and you're having trouble, cool, you've got a knob there you can adjust on the fly to dial it back.
So
So
let's talk about, like, okay, so you have this knob, and more than likely you're going to have it pretty close to, if it would almost be like DCCD, like near open, I guess is a good way of putting this. Like if you had an aftermarket DCCD controller, it's going to be on the least aggressive.
yeah, my
Um,
understanding is if you put it on 0, ABS is off. It'll lock up. If you put it on 1, basically
it's going
it's
to
gonna
do
lock
rain
up.
when shit's getting real crazy.
Yeah, it's gonna
Yeah.
be very close to lockup, just before that point. And as you roll all the way out, it'll be more aggressive to where it prevents
Yeah.
lockup. Even just the
So
smallest difference in wheel speeds will get accounted for versus bigger differences.
let's say you're on track then, and let's say it starts raining. When you start hitting the brakes and things are going crazy, you're in your ABS all the time, you can probably mess with this and like turn the knob and
Yep.
and put it more where you need to. Or let's say like you just said, Midwest Fest, the track is trashed. Um or maybe you're on a different set of tires and it ain't playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
Um
think that, I think that there is definitely some argument that it's a beneficial knob to have at different times.
sure. No, it makes all the
So
sense in the world.
that's a cool selling point. But then, yeah, I mean, like I said, the whole thing is built to be, you know, a track-oriented ABS unit that isn't as expensive as getting into like a Bosch Club Sport M5, which essentially, to compare the price, as I understand it, it's about $8,000 to get that hardware, maybe an extra $1,000 to get a cable to program it to, according to Tony at Turing Concepts. So it's a pretty big investment. Now there is a new rumored Bosch coming that's going to be targeted at a similar price point, but I think they're gonna strip a lot of things down.
Yeah.
You're not gonna have the adjustment knob like you do with the high-end M5. It's not gonna come with the programming cable. I don't know what we're gonna be missing with that. I don't know if it's gonna be as good as the Delta ABS without spending more money to get to it.
I'm excited to see
You
how the
know?
Delta ABS works out for you.
And also, like, do you know anybody at Bosch that you can call for ABS
No,
support?
no, but I know Chris Law.
Because I don't. That's because I don't, and we're not an IMSA team, so
No,
we're not going to have access to Bosch's resource and support because why would we? We just wouldn't.
yeah,
And
no,
MK60, there's you're kind of MK60. You're leaning on a community of people, and granted, that's a great community. It's a well-known
uh huh,
path. Nothing against MK60, but it's not quite as easy as knowing one person to get the exact answers and the support when you need it, right?
yep. Like I
So
want to throw this out here. We went from an '07 STI unit to an MK60, and it was night and day. All right, I am we now that we've got our MK60 exactly how we wanted it. We had so many weird resources, the yaw controller thing and how you have to put it in there and what orientation.
yep,
We changed that like 6 different times. We finally got it working great, and I got to be real, it works great. It's never
yep,
did anything that has made me go what the hell. But if what I put into that to make that work, and all you know, the amount of shit that we went through to finally get that functioning, knowing what I know now, the Delta didn't exist when we started putting that together. It does now. I would probably tell somebody to go Delta.
Yeah. And so in the interest of, testing things for before our customers and people following us have to, I think it's the right thing to test.
Yep, I
If
agree.
neither one of us had an MK60, sure, maybe I would go down that path or one of us would, but I think because you have the MK60, we know it's good, we know it works,
Yeah,
and we're co-developing these cars. I think getting the Delta ABS for our car makes a lot of sense.
I think it's great, and if it's awesome, then I now have sensors that will be compatible with with the Delta.
Yep.
That is what I
Well,
was really
right.
thankful to Mike McGinnis at who helped me get the MK60 just functioning. We needed weird adapters and all sorts of stuff to change our ABS sensors over. If it wasn't for him, we would have never got it done. He's just an
Right.
absolute
And
massive resource. But I'm even if you go to the Delta, I have a feeling you're still going to need three quarters of that stuff.
which stuff?
The like the weird adapters for the because of the type of sensor you've got to use. I think it's
You're
easier
saying,
for you because
oh
you have a
yes,
later model with that uses a particular type of sensor. We have the old style goofy fat sensors that just they don't work. So you need like an adapter to hold a particular type of sensor,
yep,
all
you're
sorts of
right.
stuff.
Yeah. All the stuff we just talked about require two-wire Hall effect sensors
Yeah.
and tone rings that are at least 40 teeth or more. That's kind of like that is the standard for motorsports ABS at this point,
Yes.
or anything working well. But yeah, so we're good there. And the cool thing is, I talked to started looking. Basically, I needed to get four people committed to this, plus a shop that wants to give this a shot, and that ended up being Tony at Turning Concepts. He's committed to one for one of his cars. Jeremy Bailey, part of our team, is
Yep.
going to put one on his FRS. So that's a cool
I'm
chassis. He's had
excited about
tons of
that
ABS
too.
issues,
Yep. He has been fighting ABS like crazy.
and we're looking for one more. And you introduced me to today to is it Joachim? Is that how you say his name? Joachim
Jakob or
Sodergaard?
Jog, yes, Sandgard, either way. The Viking.
Sandgard.
Sandgard the
The
Viking.
Sand, the Sandgard car.
Yeah.
That Sam works with that one, right?
I think Sam works with it. He's doing he's really known in GTA. He's been running like limited in GTA for a while.
Red
He's
and white
got kind of
hatch,
a
right?
yeah, he's got a hatch and it kind of looks like a Marlboro livery on it.
I think I was just gonna say, dude, it looks like Marlboro.
Yeah, and then he's
Red and
also
white.
he's looking to go tear assing up I think he just did he just do no, he's building his car to now go up Pikes Peak and he's like my ABS is just not it. And so I think he's going to hop in on it too, which is cool.
Yeah, he hit ice mode testing on Pikes Peak and about went off the damn mountain. I'm like, yeah, that's definitely not a place you want ice mode.
Yeah, that's the worst place you want ice mode. He's a cool cat.
Right.
I think we need to bring him
Anyway,
on again.
he's committed. So we have our four. So
Sick.
I'm gonna get the ball rolling on this and try to figure out how to get it in my car before Road America. The only challenge is I'm confident in doing a lot of things myself. I'm not super confident with like flaring brake lines and moving the brake bias,
I,
and
I
I
I'd
don't.
be a little weird
I
about
only know
that.
enough to be dangerous, and I don't want to screw around with brakes. So I got to figure out where to get the car to deal with that. I got to see if Chris can get me in at 6 star and slam this in, or the
I
guys
I
at URW.
I
I'm
would
gonna have to figure out.
I got to be real. If you don't have a set plan and a few days minimum after however long they think it's going to take them to do this as a
Yeah,
fallback, don't do it before that event.
I know it's a gamble. It's a gamble. So we're Kim and I are still weighing it out and deciding if we think, because like you said, you make a good point about Road America. The braking at Road America
It's very
is very
strict.
opposite of Mid Ohio. There
Yep.
aren't really any places that the ABS should get upset.
Yep. It's
But
pretty breaking in a straight line for
but
anything
at the
that's
same
terrifying.
time, but then at the same time, I would this might be our last event for the year. Maybe we're going to try to come do a pit race. I don't know, but since this is a development year, it'd be really nice to have it in the
Hey,
car
I'm with you.
and be
I
able.
I would prefer it to be in the car. What I
I
don't
know.
want you to do is show up with no ABS. You know what I mean? Or
No,
something's like
I
half working, or because we don't know. Like
I
I'm
agree.
not trying to like this isn't a Delta ABS ad here. We don't know if it's going to work or not. You know what I mean? This
Yeah,
could be
I think
shit.
I
We
think we
don't
know
know.
it's going to work. We just don't know it's going to work without struggling
We don't know.
on.
We don't know.
Yeah,
I got faith that if we can get an MK60 with frickin' Lada brake sensors and frickin' Hyundai or Nissan or whatever brake sensors like hodgepodged into the middle of a 95 Impreza L and it's
yeah.
working, I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to get Delta ABS designed to be put in just about anything working. But
Like
what I'm
here's
worried
the
about is
biggest.
like weird line problems that like shit, we got to get a goofy fitting. We don't have it. We got to order it. It takes 2 days.
Well, here's the biggest problem is it's a bit of a one-way road, and that's because of Subaru's maybe arguably stupid design of basically crossing the like front right rear left
Yep.
with they basically like they cross
It's
balance
two
or
channel.
whatever. I don't. I'm probably saying that
It's
wrong, but
two channel. No,
essentially
you're right. It's
the
two channel ABS. That's why.
it is two channel ABS, and it's not doesn't have the proportioning valve for front and rear is after the ABS unit. I think is that right?
It's a physical proportioning valve, and you kind of need to get rid of that because your new ABS unit will do the proportioning.
That's not true. No,
Okay,
that's
well
not
then I'm
true.
new. Then I was wrong on that. Then you need to explain something to me.
None of them do. I mean, you don't. Yours. How do you proportion front and rear on your car?
I don't.
What do you mean? You should
All
have more going to the front
all of it
than
runs
rear.
to my ABS unit. That is how we were told to run it.
Hmm. I
We
thought that.
we have no proportioning that I know of.
Well, this just goes to show that we don't know shit about fuck
We
here,
don't know
right? Do
shit
we?
about fuck, man. And this is why we co-develop, okay?
I know. So we're literally so people in the audience here are getting to literally see how
No,
this
that's
goes. We
perfect.
show up to the track. We show up to the track and we set records, and these guys are probably like, "Man, they know what they're doing." You know what? We don't always know what we're doing,
We don't know shit about fuck, okay?
but we go. But we go. But now consider this: we didn't know shit about differentials.
Nothing. Well, I
You
wouldn't
know,
say that. I knew a thing or
I
two
took it
about
upon
differentials.
myself. You saw me. You watched me beat the bushes, man. When
No,
I need
no,
to know
you really
something, I
did.
go beat the bushes.
You I knew a thing or two, but I learned a lot more from our
Yep.
voyage into front differentials and how preload works and all sorts of stuff.
We would have if we would have tried to guess on differential setup, we would have screwed up big time. If we would have just put them in, we would have screwed up big time. We went around and utilized the resources and the people that we know to get good information, blend it all together, and make our own choice.
Here's
That's how
the
we do
biggest
things.
problem we have with the way our cars are too though. Differentials, actually this was one of those situations where we had people to talk to, which was really nice. So
Right. So
so
nevertheless, going back,
what I'm trying to get
um,
at, what I'm trying to get at here, let me finish my thought, is we have some really cool people to talk to, and it was really nice having somebody to talk to differentials about. But a lot of the shit we're doing on our cars is it's theory at this point. Like you're about to throw an aftermarket ABS unit in that, let's be real, I haven't even seen on a damn Subaru. Who do you talk to go, hey, this is the beaten path? So like,
yeah,
yeah, we sound like we don't know what the fuck we're doing, and we
because we're the first
probably
ones doing it.
don't, but we're the first ones doing it.
Yeah, I don't know. I asked Chris, and Chris didn't know of anybody else on Delta ABS with a Subaru yet.
Yeah.
They're getting really popular. He tells me that they're getting very popular and people really like them on lots of different cars, but they haven't made it into Time Attack yet. They're doing a lot of like GLTC guys are running this now, I guess, with Gridlife. I didn't know that,
Yeah.
but he's interested in getting this into our hands to show it off for the Time Attack guys.
And
But either way, my
I think we're
point
gonna kill it
was
with that.
I know that I have to change the way my lines feed.
Okay.
And that means that if this doesn't work, there's no going back. I can't just, oh, man, let's put this factory ABS back in and screw it in and I'm good to go.
Yep. This is what
So
it is.
either it works or I don't get to race at Road America.
Yep.
And that's a little bit risky. So I'm weighing the pros and cons of. I think I'll probably at least try to get this and do some research and see if I feel very, very confident about plugging it all in and giving it a shot. And then I would have to arrange to get the car out to Chicago like the week before Road America, get it all set up, which I need to go out there anyway and get the RV before we go up. But so anyway, I might be able to pull this off, but if it doesn't feel like it's going to be 100%, surefire, then we'll probably wait, do it after Road America, get it all working, test it on test it at home, see if I flat spot my tires, on the
Yep.
highway.
Good times.
And then maybe I'll come to pit racing with it or something, but either way, we'll figure it out. That's where we're at. I really want it, but I don't want to jeopardize Road America. And
No,
obviously Road America's not a place to risk braking issues.
no, 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 no.
So
Like, you need your brakes to work there. Again,
yeah, but these are the conversations that myself and my team manager Kim, also my life manager Kim, my
yes.
wife, will have, and we'll decide if it makes sense or not.
Yep.
She'll probably tell me, no, you're not doing that. That's stupid.
And you know what? She's probably right.
Probably right. That's why she's the manager, and I just drive the car and tune it.
Yep. So what are you gonna do?
So, anywho, I don't really have anything else.
No, that's about it. I wanted to see we drug producer Jordan in here. I just wanted to check in on him. Jordan, how you doing, bud?
Woke up from my nap. The muscle relaxers that I'm on knock me the fuck out
Yep.
every like 2 hours.
Oh, that's fun. Well, it's nice
Oh
having you
yeah,
on
so
for a
when
few
I woke up
seconds.
and it was like 5:30. I was like, oh fuck, I missed the start of this.
Nah, you're good. How are you feeling, man?
Um, so laying down, I feel great. So for anyone, if I don't know if you said anything in the beginning of this
I
or
just said you
prior,
had some back
but
issues.
what was that?
I just said you had some back issues.
Yeah, so I have a hurt, as they said, disc in my lower back. They didn't say it was bulging. They didn't say it was herniated, but that's what it feels like. And they said the disc was hurt. And I got an MRI done today. So I'm here waiting to hear back from the radiologist to see if surgery is needed or not. But I have a lot of back pain, and I can't really move around or do anything, and it pisses me off because I had to miss Mid Ohio because of it. But luckily, Gridlife worked with me and transferred a ticket to Lime Rock. But to be honest, I just don't even know if I'm going to be able to make Lime Rock at this rate.
It sucks. I hope you get together, dude. All right, that just
Um,
blows.
yeah, we'll see. We'll just see how it is, and it's just annoying because, like I said, I lay here in bed and I have nearly no pain laying here, and it makes me feel like I'm okay. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm insane. Maybe I'm not hurting. I have to do an insanity check every once in a while, get up and try to move around and like sit down. Like as soon as I get out of bed, like I'm okay for like 2 minutes, but like after that 2 minutes, all the pain starts rushing back in. I'm like, oh, okay, I am not crazy. I actually am like really fucked up.
That sucks, dude.
And I
It's
had to,
sorry to hear.
yeah, I had to do a sanity check. It's crazy. I'm like, ah, fuck. No, I'm actually hurt. This sucks.
Sorry, man.
I've been laying in bed for 2 weeks.
You gotta be about
So,
over that. You watch any good TV?
dude, I am so over it. And I was gonna try, um, coming down to Mid Ohio at least to come hang out with everybody,
Yeah.
but I couldn't even survive the car ride to the
No.
doctor's office 10 minutes
No, dude.
down the road.
Yeah, honestly, if you would have like killed yourself to get there, I would have been pissed.
Yeah, it was like it's an hour drive from my house.
Yeah.
So like if I couldn't survive the 10, 20 minutes to get to the doctor's office last week, there's no way I was making an hour drive to Mid Ohio.
So are they just hoping you heal up?
Um, well, so today they got me on pain medicine program I have to start, and then they're gonna do physical therapy in the meantime until they determine if surgery is needed or not.
That sucks. All right, man. Well, we're all
So
thinking about you.
no, thanks, man. There's something else I was just gonna say. I don't remember. I just lost my train of thought.
Something,
Something about
something.
it.
Supra blew
Something
up trying to chase
something.
us down.
This is bullshit. I'm losing my mind because I can't even sit up in my lazy boy. So I'm just dying of boredom.
Yep, everybody's broke. Warranty broke his rib.
Yeah.
You broke your back. You need a backy.
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
okay. So that's what I was gonna say. I don't even know how I hurt my back. I just woke up like 2 Wednesdays ago with some back pain, which is not out of the normal, like not out of the realm of normal because I broke my back in high school. Um, so I'm like, oh, this is whatever. I'm like, I'll go to work, and by like 2, 3 o'clock, I could literally no longer physically stand or sit. I didn't do anything crazy, didn't lift anything super heavy, didn't have to bend over. I just apparently slept too hard and then continued to work on a hurt disc, which just fucked it up more.
that'll do her.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
So,
Well,
yeah, shit
Graham,
happens, It's whatever.
I appreciate you coming on, Graham. You know,
Sure.
I didn't know if I was going to have a co-host or not today, but it was actually cool having you on because we did the thing together. So
Yeah, I saw you see we talk about the Mid Ohio weekend. I'm like, well, yeah, let's chit chat about it.
let's talk about Mid Ohio. It's sweet.
We both did some things and some stuff. It was a successful weekend.
I feel like
For
you
sure.
and I mean, there were a little drama around you, because you were naughty.
I was naughty.
And then you had the Porsche Cup car be a problem, but for the most part, you and I feel like are like the happiest people in street mod. Like,
Yeah, dude, we're having a good time. We're having a good time.
everybody needs to calm down.
Right.
All right. All right. I think we're gonna call it at that though. But
It's good.
next week, saying it again, we're having Brian from iWire on, and it's gonna be a good one. So make sure you guys are there. Other than that, thanks for everybody listening. Please follow us on Spotify, drop us a like, drop us a comment. It means the world to us. Please, please, please. Comment on whatever you're listening on. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, I don't care. Just please comment on it. We really need it. And let's keep on keeping on. Yeah, it's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. We'll see you guys next week.